You know that feeling, right? You buy some beautiful, perfect-looking fruit, and just a few days later, it's already starting to go bad? It's frustrating. But what if for a certain, really valuable fruit, that frustration is actually $1 million problem? Well, in this explainer, we're going to unlock the scientific secret to keeping that perfect fruit perfect.
And just so we're all on the same page, everything we're about to talk about comes straight from the source. It's all based on a 2025 study from the Turkish Journal of Agriculture and Forestry. We're diving right into the research to get the real story.
So that really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? If you have a fruit that's absolutely flawless the moment it's picked, what's the secret to keeping it that way all the way from the farm to, your fruit bowl?
Okay, let's dive in. We're not talking about just any old fruit here. This is all about a very special variety of Hawthorn, and it's nicknamed the Sultan for a reason.
See, the Sultan Hawthorn is a big deal. It's big in size, it has this incredible sweet and sour taste that people just love, and it fetches a really high price. We're talking $5 to $6 a kilogram. But here's the catch. The growers have been flying blind. There's been almost no solid science on how to store it properly, which means a huge risk of spoiled fruit and lost money.
So, to tackle this very expensive problem, researchers set up a pretty simple but totally critical experiment. You can think of it like a scientific showdown between temperatures, all to find the perfect way to store this fruit.
The game plan was brilliant in its simplicity. First, you harvest the Sultan Hawthorn when it's at its absolute best. Then, you split the batch in two and pop them into different cold storage conditions. And finally, you check on them every single month for 5 months straight to see which group is winning the freshness battle.
And this right here was the heart of the whole experiment. It was a direct head-to-head comparison. You've got 0 degrees Celsius, so basically near freezing, versus 4 degrees Celsius, which is more like your standard refrigerator at home. The question was simple. Which chill is the winner?
So, what did they find out? Well, after months of checking and testing, the data started to paint a very, very clear picture. Just think about it for a sec. When you see a piece of fruit that's been sitting out for a while, what's one of the first things you notice? A lot of the time, it's that it's starting to look a little wrinkly, right? A little shriveled. And that all comes down to weight loss. Now, what's so wild about this is just how big the difference was. The fruit kept to the warmer 4 degrees lost more than 14% of its weight. That's mostly just water evaporating out. But the fruit at 0 degrees, it lost way, way less. That's a huge gap in dehydration.
And that number, that 14%, it wasn't just a number on a chart. The researchers saw it with their own eyes. They wrote right in the paper that the fruit in the standard fridge temp showed a lot of shriveling. It just didn't look fresh at all.
Of course, how a fruit looks is only half the story. I mean, nobody wants to bite into a mushy piece of fruit, no matter how pretty it is. So the next big test was all about firmness, the crunch factor.
And surprise, surprise, the results here were just as clear. The fruit stored at that near-freezing temperature stayed way firmer, keeping that satisfying bite. The fruit at 4 degrees, on the other hand, got much, much softer over time.
But hey, it's not all about what machines and instruments can measure. The researchers brought in the real experts, a panel of trained human tasters. And their opinion sealed the deal. They confirmed the fruit from 0 degree storage looked better for longer. And, most importantly, it just plain tasted better. It got way higher scores across the board.
So, after looking at everything, the weight loss, the firmness, the appearance, and of course the taste, the final verdict became crystal clear.
At that near-freezing temperature of 0 degrees Celsius, the Sultan Hawthorn could be stored for a full 4 months and still be considered high quality. 4 months!
But at that standard fridge temp of 4 degrees, its shelf life was only 3 months before the quality really started to drop. And trust me, that 1 extra month is a world of difference in the fruit business. And just like that, the Sultan's secret was out. The study gave growers a very specific, scientifically proven recipe for success. Keep the Sultan Hawthorn at 0 degrees Celsius and 90% humidity, and you can sell a top-quality product for up to 4 months. That's a game changer.
Now, look, this is super fascinating for this one particular fruit, right? But let's zoom out for a minute, because this kind of scientific detective work is actually incredibly important for all of us.
This kind of research, it's called post-harvest science, is absolutely vital. It helps us cut down on food waste, which is a massive global problem. It helps growers stay in business by giving them a longer window to sell their crops. And for you and me,
It means we get better, more nutritious food on our plates for more of the year. It's a win-win-win.
So the next time you pick up a perfectly crisp apple in the middle of winter, or you're enjoying some fresh berries that came from halfway across the world, it's worth asking yourself, isn't it? What little scientific secret, what tale of two temperatures is working behind the scenes to keep it just right?